battery technology and lithium, and people saying that there's not enough lithium in the world and there's not enough infrastructure, especially in the US, to handle all these millions of EVs that are coming. Well, there is actually, because all these millions of EVs that are being sold right now are all getting around quite nicely. There's no real problem with them getting around quite nicely, because most people who currently are buying EVs are able to charge from home. And right now that makes a huge difference, because A, it's really, really cheap to do so. It's roughly, in Virginia, which is where I'm from, it's 14 cents per kilowatt hour. That's what electricity costs here. I don't know what it is in your state. You have to look it up. Look at your bill. Some states even have 2 rates. So you have like your normal rate, and then you have like a cheaper rate, which is usually in the middle of the night. And if that's the case, and you are an EV owner, then quite simply you program your car to charge only at those times. So you'd be charging for 9 cents a minute, kilowatt hour, rather than 14, which makes all kinds of sense. Why wouldn't you? Even if you're having to use superchargers, then you have to work out for yourself, because this is what it comes down to. You can't just be stupid and go, oh, I'm going to get an EV, and then cry and moan to everybody that you didn't realise this, you didn't realise that. Do your research. Watch more channels like this one. And if you like what I'm talking about and how I'm saying it, please like this video, because that really helps. And it's free. You don't have to pay anything to like the video. And if you don't mind, press the subscribe button, because I love to have people following me so I can talk to more people. Otherwise, I'm just talking to myself. And then share it. Share the heck out of it. Share it with 20 people if you can be bothered. Or just share it with someone you like. Or don't like, maybe. Depends on how you feel about it. But either way, if you're able to charge from home, then buying and driving an EV makes all kinds of sense. Now, there are always people in the comments saying, my EV won't, any old EV won't, you can't tow with an EV. It's a lot of old rubbish, no range, and you can't haul, and you can't do this, and you can't do that. Correct. No one's arguing that. No one has said that if you are one of those rare people who has to tow heavy loads, great distances on a regular basis, then electric ain't for you, pal. It just ain't for you. It's just not going to work that way. So what you do is you don't buy an EV and you stick with your diesel, because that is the best tool for the job. Why complain and cry about it? It's just, you only buy a vehicle that suits you. Now, in the future, with new battery technology being developed all the time, and with new motors, and with new this and new that, there will be trucks, there will be vehicles that can out-tow any current diesel. And we're probably only 5-10 years away from that. So watch this space. They will be better, they will go further, they'll be as expensive or less probably than they are now. So the future is looking really good, and they'll be emission free. Now, before you get on your high horse about emissions, renewable energy is growing at an exponential rate right now, because it is expensive and it is dirty to carry on using oil, coal. Nuclear is not a favorite because of the waste situation, and to be honest with you, we don't need any more problematic ways of creating power. They cite nuclear as clean, but it's not particularly clean, as we all know. It's pretty damn dangerous, and when something goes wrong, like a natural disaster, the whole planet gets affected. Excuse me, I'm going to drink. It's just not good. So with the current technology improvement in the last 10 years regarding solar and wind, wind farms are creating electricity throughout the night. Solar is creating tons of electricity during the day. We're now finding it easier to store electricity. And the one thing most people are not actually thinking of, because you didn't know maybe, but electric cars are huge, massive batteries on wheels which are usually parked outside your place of work and your place of home when you're not using it. Right or wrong? Now, just think of this tiny amount of information, because I'm not quoting from facts, I'm not quoting from any tables, I'm not quoting from any scientific study. What I am quoting from what I've heard and learned. And it is this. Let's say you have a 70 kilowatt battery in your car, fully charged. And let's also say that the average draw on your electricity meter in any one day, say in America, I'm talking about the USA here, I don't know about anywhere else, but we have big fridges, big refrigerators, we have big heat pumps for air conditioning because it's a hot country, all the lighting, TVs, all that kind of stuff. Let's just say, on average, the average American house will draw about 10 kilowatts, 10 kilowatt hours of energy per day, on average. Some much less, some much more. But this is just an average, rough guess, okay? Now let's say that the grid collapsed because you might live in Texas, for instance. Comments and insults in the below, please. But be kind, be nice. If you're nasty, you're going to get deleted. And if you're really nasty, you'll get blocked. So just play nice. Have some fun in there, by all means, but be nice. So let's say your grid collapses next winter because it wasn't properly updated to cope with the problems it's been having over the previous years. And let's say you were able to plug into the back of your car a power strip, a heavy duty one, that you can then plug your fridge into, or if you really fancy and want to spend some money, you can actually have a wall unit that you can plug straight into your car, and it does all the two-way for you, so you can just plug in and it will power the whole house. But let's just say right now, for instance, the Kia EV6, you can plug a power strip into the back of that. They even give you an adapter to do so, and from that power strip you can plug as much as you want into it, as long as you don't go over 1,900 watts. If you keep it within that amount of draw, you'll be fine. You can run your fridge, and you can probably run your fridge and lights, because if you've got LED lights, then that's kind of very low draw. But let's say shit hits the fan and your local power company says, "Oh, you're going to be off air. There's going to be no power for like 4 days because something big happened. We have to get it in, and it's going to take forever to fix it. Roughly 4 days. We're really sorry. What can we do?" That's okay. You can plug your car into your house, and you can run your fridge for up to about 7 to 10 days, probably, if you had to. Truth be known. So all this business about the grid not being able to handle EVs is kind of rubbish. Once more people actually have EVs and are plugging them into their homes at night with suitable wall-mounted, charging systems that allow you to have the two-way, charge car to grid, I don't remember what they're called now, off the top of my head. Once you have that facility, then all of a sudden the electricity grid isn't going to be an issue, because thousands upon thousands of EVs are going to be plugged into that grid, and they're going to be supporting the grid. Now imagine that, supporting the grid. So the power companies themselves will actually be able to utilize all that power stuck in all those batteries that are plugged into the grid at all times, and they can utilize that power. So at peak times, for instance, there's going to be no such thing as strain, because people are putting back into the grid at peak times and then charging from the grid at off-peak times. Now you can't tell me that isn't amazing. And if you don't think that's amazing, then I suggest you read some more books about it, because the more you learn about this, the better it gets. I mean, how could that not be a great idea? It means that you don't have to be storing batteries. You don't have to be storing power. Like, with the Tesla Powerwall, that really expensive battery system you can install onto the side of your house, and it stores all the power from your solar panels on the roof, so that you can run the house at night. Well, if you've got 70 or 80 kilowatts of power stored in your battery in your car, and you only need to power the house for 2 or 3 hours a night. And then after the peak period is gone, then you're back onto the cheap charging tariff. Then come morning, you're still going to have a full tank of electrons. That solves a lot of problems. Now, there's still work to do when it comes to the overall infrastructure, especially the charging network. I mean, the Tesla supercharger network is absolutely fantastic by comparison to any other offerings. Quite simply, Electrify America, even though they've just announced they're putting their prices up slightly by 2 or 3 cents on average, the service really still isn't up to snuff. You go there and they're either out of order or they're not performing the way they're meant to perform, which is a very, very big letdown, because they're kind of single-handedly preventing people even from getting an EV just yet, because they don't trust the infrastructure. And to be honest with you, I don't blame them. For me personally, I'm not particularly a Tesla fan. I don't really like the cars that much. I think they're plain and kind of ugly, but that's just me. Other people love them. You know, some people love a Range Rover, some people love a Jeep. It's just the way it is. Some people prefer Ford over Chevy. I used to be a Dodge man. I used to have a Dodge truck. But I know now that I never want to buy another gas car. I want EV, because I've driven a few, and I tell you what, they're excellent. There is no reason on God's earth why you'd want to carry on buying a gas car. It just doesn't make any sense. Unless, like I said earlier, you have specific needs and you have to haul, I don't know, your caravan, your trailer, your horses, or whatever it is, you know, long distances on a daily basis. I mean, the Ford F-150 is an amazing piece of equipment. It's got a range of about 300 miles. And if you're towing a heavy load, like maximum load, that range goes down to about 100 miles. So if you're trying to go across country, it's going to become a nightmare, because every 100 miles or so, you're going to be getting anxious about, can I get to the next charger? So you wouldn't use that truck in that kind of situation. It's not designed to do that. But what it can do is, as long as you're not towing heavy things, you can run all your tools off it for days. You can run your house off it for days, literally about 10 days on that truck. It's an amazing piece of equipment, and it's seriously quick. It'll outperform any gas truck in its standard form. It is pretty expensive in its most expensive, luxurious format, but the work variations, which are starting to come out, they're starting at under 50 grand, which for a big truck with that kind of capability, that's a lot of truck for the money. That's a lot of performance for the money. So, tell me again, why? Why don't I want one? It comes down now to affordability and availability, because right now, affordability, they're expensive. It's a new thing. Manufacturers are having to change their factory, they're having to retool everything to go from building gasoline vehicles to EVs, which are two different things. Yeah, the bodywork's kind of the same, but they're having to make them safer, they're having to make them better. This is a new generation of vehicle. We're having to make new motors, we're having to make infrastructure, we're having to make chargers and all that kind of stuff as well. It's not an easy transition, because a lot of people don't understand it. They essentially become scared of it, and they feel that they've been pushed into something that they don't want, or just because they don't understand it. But it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen over the next 5-10 years until we're fully integrated. So gas cars will still be available. You can still buy your diesel trucks to tow and do whatever you want work-wise with it. It's not going to be a problem. But your average sedan, your average car, your average commuter, your average daily means of transport that is now gasoline-based is going to become fairly worthless in the near future, because as people move to the superior EV, gas cars are going to become irrelevant. It's like, I'll tell you how quickly it's going to happen. Remember, only 10, 15, 20 years ago, everybody was still smoking cigarettes. And now it's just a social no-no to be seen, caught and smelt by anybody who doesn't smoke. And now, I mean, I used to be a smoker. I don't smoke anymore. It's like I never smoked personally, but I wouldn't want to go back to it because I was always coughing. I always stunk, and it's just not a nice habit. It's filthy. But at the time, I was all being cool and, well, I'll smoke if I want. It's what I do. I'm a man. I do what I want. Same with anything new. EVs are no exception. People are fighting it right now, and there's always people trolling the comments because they don't understand. They don't understand how anything electric can be better than tried and tested gasoline. Well, it is better. Go and drive one. Just go and find a dealership or CarMax or wherever that has either a Ford F-150 Lightning if you're lucky, but you might find you probably find a Tesla Model 3 to drive. You'll definitely find a Ford Mark-E to drive. I've driven a Volvo XC40 Recharge, and I have to say the performance of that thing and the way it looked was simply astonishing. I was astonished at how good that was. I wasn't ready for that kind of thrust. It was fun. Now, people get carried away with the 0 to 60 times and seem to think that if it's got less than 6 seconds, it's somehow inferior. Sorry, if it's greater than 6 seconds, 0 to 60, it's inferior. It's not, it's just the way they designed it. Because the average person doesn't need to be doing that kind of speed, and actually that kind of speed is pretty dangerous in the wrong hands. You can put your foot down on a wet road, on a bend, and whew, you're off. So it's not really necessary for everyone to have that. But what we do need is cars that perform. I mean, any electric car is going to perform better than its gasoline equivalent. That's just a fact. Ranges are getting higher. I mean, right now, a 300-mile range is not unheard of. It's kind of normal right now. So, I mean, who really needs a 300-mile range car? When was the last time you did 300 miles in one hit? And if charging is, say, 20 minutes to go from, I don't know, 10% or whatever it is, 0 to 80% in between 15 and 20 minutes, or even half an hour, which is the kind of average at the moment. I mean, half an hour, by the time you got out, had a stretch. I'm talking about after a 300-mile trip. Had a stretch, bought yourself a coffee, have a bit of a chat, just like stretch, just walk around and, stretch your legs and go to the restroom and, whatever. And that's for people that don't even want to eat or anything. This is people who want to get a coffee, have a stretch of the legs. I mean, you've done 15, 20 minutes just doing that already. So waiting for the last 5-10 minutes for your car to get up to speed. It's not a problem. But if you envisage yourself, because some people seem to have this idea that whenever they go out, they're going to have to go to a charger and wait half an hour for the thing to charge up every time they go out. That's not right. That's not how it works. If you're only commuting to work and back, let's say you're doing 20 miles a day, some people do more, some people do less. But work out how many times a day or how many times a week you're going to have to recharge. And then ask yourself, well, hang on a minute. I have a house that I can park my car near, like on the driveway or in the garage if you're lucky enough. So you just plug it in at home. That means you never have to go to a charger unless you're doing a long distance road trip. And then if you're a 2-car family, you might keep a gas car for now and keep your EV for everyday use. You'll probably find once you have that you won't be using the gasoline car much. You'll be using the EV every day because it costs so little to run. And no more oil changes. I mean, this video is getting long now. We're up to 20 minutes now. I've just been sitting here rambling. But just to give you an idea, I could go on for hours about this because there's so much to talk about. There are so many reasons why EVs are better. And they're getting better still. And in 5-10 years, they will be so good that we'll all look back, even the naysayers, we'll all look back and think, wow, yeah, I get it now. Those gasoline cars were, by comparison, awful. So anyway, I'm going to sign off now because I don't want to be doing 20-minute videos on a regular basis, and I have to edit this now. So I have to get it all together, get the sound matching the video because I've got audio to match up. So I'm going to give it a try. Thank you for listening, and hopefully see you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and by all means share. You have my full permission to share this video relentlessly, at least like it, and to really support me, totally free of charge, no cost to you, but it does really help me out. Subscribe. That would really help me. So thank you. Over and out. Sayonara.